Okay, so we have a test coming up, and so we have a little review to kind of help you remember some of the things. Now, keep in mind that this review is actually the second review. There was already a review on the prerequisite material that you turned in recently to me. So this review is really the second part, so please don't forget that you need to look over the previous stuff because I'm not reviewing a second time that material. So let's go ahead and get started on that. I will be breaking this video into a couple of chunks because it might get a little bit long. So we'll do a few of the problems and then I'll stop it and then I'll do a few more of the problems in another time. So let's kind of see how we could start this journey. So the first couple of questions are just asking if you know how to use your calculator. So on this calculator, if you were asked to find out where this equation was equal to 6, one of the ways that you could do that is just literally type in both sides of this thing and find out where they cross. So what I personally like to do is I hit y equals, and absolute value is actually found in the math key, and it's under math number. And so if I did the absolute value of 6x minus 7 plus the absolute value, let's see, that was math absolute value of x minus 3, I would like to know when that is equal to 6. Now, one of the things is sometimes when you try to find out where those things cross, it may be in a strange window. So pretty typically, teachers will tell their students to do a zoom 6 to go to a standard window. And so here comes my absolute value. Here comes my graph. And so I want to know where are these two locations right here and here where the graphs cross. So how your calculator is programmed to do that is there's a little button right here that says trace, but you hit second trace, and it gives you the option to find certain values on graphs, and I'm interested in number 5. Now right now my cursor is sitting at 0, 10, but if I move it over, I can see the cursor coming down. So what I want to do is move the cursor close to the place they cross, and I hit enter 1, 2, 3 times. And it says that first point of intersection was at x equals 0.57. I usually write it to 3 decimal places to x equals 0.571. Now, I need to do that again. Let's calculate the intersect again, but now I'm going to move my cursor over close to the second intersection. And I hit enter 3 times. So I got x equals 2. Okay, we're good to go. Now, on number 2, it's asking us to do something similar in that it wants to know when is this thing increasing, decreasing, and when is it constant. So I'm going to clear my equations out. I'm going to ask my calculator to graph this equation. Now again, I'm going to hit zoom 6 because I don't really know what window would be a good window. Now, actually, I can kind of tell something weird happened right in here because it looks like it went horizontal, but, well, I kind of know a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and tell the window to only go from x equals maybe -4 to maybe +5. And I'm going to go ahead and let the window only go down and up a little bit less, so maybe I can see a little bit better what's happening. Well, it still kind of looks like it's going flat. So, let's see if I can get in a little bit tighter. Well, I can keep getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And so one of the things that we can do is we can hit a zoom box because I think something funny is happening in here. If I hit enter on the top of the box, because I just have a suspicion that something is happening right in here. And the graph comes up and it does dip right down in there. So what I want to know is it's going uphill from -infinity to this spot, and then it's going uphill from here to infinity and downhill in the middle. So I'm going to calculate again, and what I'm interested in is number 4, the maximum. Now, it's telling me to move to the left of the maximum, so I'm going to move over to the left and hit enter. Now it's saying, can you please move to the right? And hit enter twice. And my calculator is saying it's 3 times 10 to the -7, which is kind of a silly thing. It's really saying that it's 0. This is 0.0000348. super deep, super tiny. So this graph was increasing from negative infinity until it reached 0. It then is decreasing from 0 until it gets to this next spot. So if I wanted to find this minimum value where it stops going down, I can go to calculate again, but instead of finding a max, I'm going to find a minimum. So again, it says move my cursor to the left, hit enter. Move the cursor over to the right, hit enter twice, and it says the lowest value I could find is this, which I recognize as fraction 2/3. So it was going downhill to 2/3, and then it resumes being uphill from 2/3 until infinity. Now, let's try that one more time. Let's take a look at number 3. Now, on question number 3, I have h of x is equal to, remember, absolute value is under number, negative x to the third plus 2x squared plus 5x plus 4. So I get all that stuff typed in. Now, I just messed with my window before when I did all that zooming. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to hit a zoom 6 to kind of go back to where I was. And this is the strange shape that I just got. And so I can tell that there's some kind of a minimum here, some kind of a minimum here, and probably some maximum in the middle. So I probably should cut the bottom half of this graph off and only let the y's go down to maybe -4 or 5. But let's let the y's go a little higher because it looked like I couldn't see the top of the graph. Ooh, there we go. So it looks like I've got a minimum here, a minimum here, and a maximum here. And similar to that last problem, if I calculate the minimum, number 3, it says move my cursor over, left, right, and hit enter one more time. It says a minimum at x equals 0.786. Now this is, I'm not sure, so remember this is 1.79. I'm going to write that down over here because I'm not sure if the other one is lower or not. So I'm going to now calculate the maximum. Again, it says move your cursor to the left of the maximum, move it over to the right of the maximum, and hit enter twice. It says your peak is at 2.1196. And I'm going to do one more to calculate that last minimum. Move to the left, to the right, hit enter twice. And that's actually at 0. Notice that that's at 3.66. And this is a scientific notation for a number that's extraordinarily close to 0. So that's definitely lower than 1.79. So at x equals a minimum at x equals 3.663. This one is a local min. This one was a local max, and this one was a global min. And that's kind of all there is to those calculator-based questions. Now, when it comes to this problem right here, the domain is kind of an important little feature. We should know that the only thing that we're really concerned about is taking the square root of a negative. I'm not worried about dividing by 0 because there's no division. So I know 5 itself is an okay number, and in fact, if I did 5, I would get the answer 7. So I'm going to plot the point 5, 7, and I'm just getting a sketch to get a feel. Now, if I try to move to the right of 5, this thing kind of crashes on me because I'd be taking the root of the negative, but I can go this way. So in terms of finding my domain, any value is fair game for x that is below or equal to 5. If we chose to write it in interval notation, we could have said from negative infinity to positive 5. That would be acceptable as well. Now, so what happens as x gets smaller and smaller and smaller? Well, what you're going to find out is this answer, as we proceed, becomes a larger and larger and larger value. You know, like if you tried 4, not 4, I think I just messed that up, didn't I? I did mess that up. It's not this way, but it's yes this way. I had that backwards. X is greater than or equal to 5, and so it's from 5 to infinity. And I'm just going to kind of show you, I'm going to leave that error in my work because that's just what happens sometimes. We make mistakes. But notice as X gets bigger, this is going to grow, so I'm going to keep taking more and more and more away from that value 7. And so the graph kind of looks like this, which kind of tells me a little bit about my range, is that Y will be less than or equal to 5. So that's the first 4 questions. That's a fairly short little video, but what I thought I would do is stop it right there. So if you needed anything, you could look back over it, and I'm going to do a separate video on composites. All right.